Hello, everybody, and welcome. Eric and I have finished up Eric's blind run on Dream Eaters, and we're actually running out of blind runs. Actually, that's not true. If they keep releasing expansions, like it's going to be a while till we run out of blind runs.
We'll die.
Yeah.
If they keep going, support Fantasy Flight so that they can keep releasing games, and we will die playing them.
Yeah, at Gen Con, they were like, we have no signs of stopping. And I was like, I have no signs of losing my job.
I don't have to try and do MTG.
Yeah, could you imagine? They're like, what did you do for this gap? I was like, I made videos on the internet. Get out!
Oh.
All right. So, I'll ask some questions, and we can dive in and get into the scenarios as we go. But what did you think of Dream Eaters as a whole?
I would say that this is one of my favorite scenarios so far. I can see how it's a lot more linear than others are. But I have to say that if you're going to tell a linear story and if you're going to keep things on the rails, do it right. Mm-hmm. And this was done really, really well. I'm really impressed too that they were able to present to us a globe-trotting campaign that didn't feel too disjointed or too disconnected. There was a bit of that, but not too much.
And by globetrotting, you mean like the amount of like the ground that it covered.
Yeah.
And like
you didn't stay in the same areas. You didn't stay in the same regions. You were constantly going somewhere new. Every scenario was like, now you get on a boat. Now you've walked for a long time. It's like normally I find in both TTRPG and in board games, when you spend a lot of time doing travel mechanics, it is very easy to do it wrong. Mm-hmm. And I think Dream Eaters actually did a really good job. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. This was one of the ones that you were most excited for from our initial hype ranking, where you gave me your general sentiment for hype. Did it hit the hype for you as a whole?
Yes.
Yeah?
I will say the final two scenarios hit the hype. I think it has a bit of a lull in the middle, mm-hmm. where it's very easy to get lost on like, why exactly are we doing any of this again? Mm-hmm. Like there is one point in the overall plot where I'm like, why don't you all just wake up and leave? And the reason the plot gives for why you don't do that and why you're doing things rapidly starts to feel like it's very pushed, it's very forced. I'm specifically talking about there's a second set of investigators who are going to help their friends, and it very quickly stops being about that, but that keeps being the reason you're given to go in, and I'm just like, what? Why? No. I don't... There's far more interesting plots you could have told with this, but otherwise I think it's really, really good, and I think the last two scenarios of the game really deliver well. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Really deliver well. Some of their best unique mechanics to a scenario that I've ever seen. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I always... we'll get to them in specifics. Spoilers for Dream Eaters, by the way, there's no...
I assume.
Yeah, there's no tiptoeing around it. We're going to be talking about spoilers. But those last two scenarios, Where the Gods Dwell and Weaver of the Cosmos, they both are like boss battle scenarios in a very unique way.
And very different ways from each other, which is phenomenal. Mm-hmm.
Those, to me, are the highs for boss battles. Nothing has come close to setting up Atla Naka on the table. Like, that is just like a wild moment, right?
And the mechanics of her spinning while she weaves and then having to fight her at the end and she's so much weaker is honestly, I think, really, really good. Mm-hmm. I feel we dominated that session, but...
We did. We had a very easy time. That Atla Naka can get out of hand. Like, if she moves like a -4 and there's no investigators and she puts down 4 doom, like, she can get out of hand, but we were just, like, really ready for it.
Yeah.
So of all the ones you've played, where does it fit for you? It's one of your favorites, but like, is Dunwich still your number one?
Dunwich is still my number one, but I'd say Dream Eaters is easily my second.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Sick. All right. Why don't we dive in scenario by scenario, and then Eric can give their thoughts. First one, Beyond the Gates of Sleep. This is the one where it's the dreaming side, where they wake up in the cavern of flame and they have to talk to the 2 old men. Then they go down the steps, they get to the woods spreads out. They say, do not stray from the path, but you do anyway. Mm-hmm. And there's all the zoogs and all that.
So as a big fan of Dream Quest to Unknown Kadath, this one felt really, really good, and I started screaming about it right off the beginning that, like, this Randolph Carter we can't trust. Spoilers, you cannot trust either Randolph Carter. I had it wrong. I actually got fooled. And deservedly so.
Yeah, when you played him on the first turn, I was like, uh-oh. Usurper! Usurper!
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was really well done. I actually think that opening scenario is really fun and really weird and does a great job of being like, hey, people who are here for a Lovecraftian horror story, welcome to surreal.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even call it horror.
No. Which is kind of like the thing that is like the dream stuff, like they are. It is very surreal, right?
Yeah.
But I also think it has a good through line where it starts surreal, but then it slowly gets more menacing, especially when you actually hit the plateau of Lang, right?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. And that's something that Dream Quest of Unknown Kadath did really, really well as a story. I would not say that this scenario does as well as Dream Quest of Unknown Kadath, this whole campaign, I mean, but it's very close. And having the playfulness of the Zoogs and the playfulness of the cats and the kind of weirdness of the two old men. Was it only two?
Yeah, Nashton, some guy.
Yeah, some guy. Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah.
I thought it was good. It was a good intro.
All right, going to the other side, we're now going to Waking Nightmare. So this was at the hospital when the spider started coming out, and then like the infection started to spread. We needed to find Randolph Carter and then start sealing up the infections.
I didn't like this one as much. I think it's the weaker of the two scenarios. It's still very good, but given how obvious Dream Quest of Unknown Kadath is as a story beat and as a story piece, having these spiders come out of nowhere and you're like, it's about Nyarlathotep, and then it's like, no, it's fucking spiders? Why are there spiders? So I had a harder time getting into that one, but I think it was a really well designed scenario. I thought the transformations of the people into spider things was...
the orderlies from suspicious into corrupted.
I loved that. I thought that was great. Yeah. It just felt very out of nowhere.
Yeah. Yeah, because these ones, so if you don't know for Dream Eaters, and Eric might not even know, I might have said this to you before, but it's 2 4 scenarios campaign. You can play them together or individually. So they actually, they don't need to have cross-contamination between them in terms of stories.
That explains so much now. I assumed they required the cross-contamination.
You can do just kind of so every time the cat talked to us, that doesn't happen if you're playing them as just a 4 scenario standalone campaign.
Interesting.
Yep.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, after that, we gone for Search for Kadath, which is the one where we search for Kadath. We get to go to we have to go to the different locals, find signs of the gods, and there was the pirates chasing us, and we went to that place where Bakrug did the thing, Sarnath, right?
Yep.
We did that. You didn't want to take us to the Forbidden Lands because they were forbidden, all that kind of stuff. The Timeless Realm, visiting basically all the locals of the Dreamlands.
I thought that was really well done. I will say that, again, I don't think that travel mechanic-based scenarios and things like that are necessarily always the best or always the most fun. You don't have a chance to really steep in those spaces. But I have to really credit the writing team and the design team for those because they felt mysterious. They felt like you weren't supposed to steep too long in them, and you were supposed to leave before bad things started happening. And I actually think that it went really well. It was easily one of my favorite travel mechanic scenarios that we've ever done. And phenomenally well handled. I thought all the writing was really good. Most of the scenarios felt flavorful and unique without being so unique that you were like, I literally can't do anything. Like, one scenario we did great. The next scenario, it's like the next area we go to, literally impossible.
All right, then we go back to the companion side where you go into the Unnamable. And the Unnamable is chasing you down as you go through the house. You get to the steps that you have to go down to actually enter the Dreamlands and all that.
The Unnamable is always a bad time in the best way, and this one I thought was really good. It was spooky and weird and strange. I think choosing to put the Unnamable into this campaign is once again another weird mythos crossover. I don't think the Unnamable in most stories has anything to do with Nyarlathotep or anything to do with Atlach-Nacha, but I guess it doesn't really matter. It's Unnamable, so...
Yeah, they had the place to check off.
Yeah, they were it goes. It was good. I liked it. I liked the running down into the basement.
Yeah, that one was probably the time where our 2 decks struggled the most. And I feel like we had to work together to get things done. Because that was a hard one for us to get all the pieces we needed to get through it all. Yeah.
But I will say, I also do love when this game is I love sometimes, I like that this game did a big travel event well, but I think that this game's real strength is when you're exploring a single kooky old house.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
And The
I call
unnamable
those Arkham scenarios when I'm just playing Arkham. Like when you have like one locale and you're like exploring that one spot, you know, and you're basically like uncovering the mystery of that spot.
Yeah, I love sometimes when I'm like on the one side of the dream level, I'm like climbing to the top of a dead volcano to face the dark, unhorned one.
Yeah.
And then in the other one, it's like, I'm trying to open a locked door to a parlor.
Yeah, yeah.
And I will say that I think they do better on the parlors.
Mm-hmm. I agree. But I also think Lovecraft does better on the parlors as a whole, right? I think that's I think that's just the nature of horror, right? Like, especially weird horror. Like, over-the-top weird horror is good, but, like, when it's rooted in, like, an intimate sort of setting, it becomes even better.
I think in some ways I agree completely. And one of the things is Lovecraft did write some really, really good surreal horror, really good strange moments. Like the Plateau of Lang is one of my favorite settings, as I mentioned earlier in one of our recordings. But you will never experience the Plateau of Lang properly unless you are in an unsafe situation in reality where you are out in a wasteland that feels alien. Knowing what it's like to creep through a house and to have the door locked that you need to get into is, I think, an experience a lot of us at least had as children or can have as adults. And there's a difference to that horror.
Definitely, yeah. Next one, we go back to the dreaming side. So this was Dark Side of the Moon. This is the one where we had to go from the dark side through the cave where there was the moon lizard out into the light side, and we had like the alarm mechanic that the more noise we made, the more that the eyes of Nyarlathotep would have been on us.
I liked that one. It was so weird. It was not scary at all, and I was like, what the fuck, is there a moon lizard? But I liked it. I actually thought that was really well put together. Yeah.
Yeah. Travis always says he loves that there's a temple of the moon lizard, and then there actually is a moon lizard. Yes. He likes that that's like, you know, something that happens. I think it's a fun one, too. I think also our team was pretty well made for it. And I think it also, like... we talked about how our decks, Winifred and Min, like, struggled, but I think they did really good in that scenario. Yeah. I think that kind of, like, happened where that's the variability that comes with these kind of decks. Onto the companion side, we have Point of No Return. This is the one with the Ghoul Gang, where we had to go and we had to, like, eventually go through the veil to find our way into the Spinner's realm and all that.
Yeah, this was the Underworld, right?
Yes, the Underworld, yeah.
So good. So good. You want to talk about the best travel situation. The sense of crawling down into this pit of insanity and of like moving away from the dreams of like moon lizards and big scary dragon beasts down into like, here are the dreams that people forget. Here are the parts of the dreamlands that represent the subconscious, the id, the concept of your fears and horrors. Like, oh yeah, the ghouls just have this peak where they just throw all their rotten bones and scraps of meat over, and you go down into it, and there's a giant fucking worm living inside this.
Yeah, just a Bob Dole.
Just a Bob Dole in this veil of skulls, and you're like, okay, this is sick. And I think too, it being dreamlike and ephemeral, but it all feeling like you were going down deeper and deeper into this broken, kind of forgotten, malevolent place was really well done.
And did you like the Ghoul Gang? Richard Upton Pickman recruiting ghouls and then fighting with them, having your little ghoul army attack things.
Richard Upton Pickman is probably, like, Lovecraft gets too much credit. But let's give him too much credit on Richard Upton Pickman for just, you know, for a weird racist and a guy who's afraid of everything. The ghouls are so cool in Dream Quest of Unknown Kadath, and Richard specifically in both of the stories that he appears in is just such a weird, cool guy, and being able to just be like, help us, and him being like, all right.
Yeah. He's like, got my ghouls to solve this problem.
It was great.
All right. And now, we already know Eric likes the two finales, but let's let Eric dive a little bit deeper. We're on to the two final scenarios. We'll start with the Nyarlathotep one, Where the Gods Dwell. Start in the Plateau of Lang, eventually get into the Onyx Tower, where Nyarlathotep himself is going to invade your mind, and you have to battle him like that, in your mind, as he's whispering to you.
So another YouTuber, far more famous than I am, I think it's Spice 8 Rack, talks in MTG about the concept of your hand being your mind, your deck being your subconscious, and the idea that discard attacks the mind, mill attacks the brain itself. Mm-hmm. And while I personally think that one thing I'm noticing that is a flaw in the way that these build these scenarios is they have like a brief lead up into a boss battle. Mm-hmm. And the whole idea is to get you to waste as much time as possible and so be panicked by the time you hit the boss battle. Very traditional in video games, very traditional everything. Like, it's fine. I wish the Plateau of Lang had its own scenario. It was so good, but so short, and I wish we could have spent more time exploring it. But it was good. It was fine. Having Nyarlathotep run on the same concept as what Spice 8-Rack talks about for MTG was so powerful. Mm-hmm. The fact that Nyarlathotep goes into your hand, and the fact that Nyarlathotep can affect you from your hand and then either leave or you have to choose to take the risk to keep him. Mm-hmm. The fact that all of these other hidden perils get into your hand and eventually end up in a position like I was in, where my whole hand was hidden perils. I didn't get rid of them fast enough. I didn't think they were important, and it crept up on me until literally every card I was drawing, I either had to play right away or plan to be done with.
Yeah.
Because there was no possibility of having anything else except Nyarlathotep in my mind.
Yeah, it's like the concept of like seeing you actually like slowly go mad to the situation. Yeah.
Oh, gloriously well done. Mm-hmm. And I think it's one of the most clever and intelligent ways that they've built a boss battle so far, because there was so much. It was actually weird. So I would say my one criticism of the Nyarlathotep battle is it feels like the brute in the party doesn't have enough to do. The Nyarlathotep fight is so well designed to allow all your flex and your support and your seeker characters, to your cloovers, to be able to help. That there wasn't enough physical violence to also support against fighting Nyarlathotep, which thematically good. I support it. There have been other bosses we fought that were just like, no, fight me. And I'm like,
Yeah.
But it was so well balanced, it would have been cool to see even more balance in that direction.
Yeah. I mean, in all fairness to ours, I did like fail the times I did investigate, which was really rough. I had the sharp vision from the copycat that I auto-failed. Those extra 2 clues that I could have used to dig stuff out might have been a game changer.
And probably would have been.
We got screwed by the autofail a lot in that scenario. We did. Okay, on to the final scenario, Weaver of Cosmos with giant Achlanaka in the center of the table.
This is the best boss battle they've ever done. The lead up was actually short enough, but thematic enough that it felt good. It felt like I had time to get... In so many Call of Cthulhu, I guess not Call of Cthulhu, Arkham scenarios with the final boss, it's more like the Nyarlathotep one with the Plateau of Lang, where you're expected to burn out resources and kind of get stalled out to put yourself in more danger. This one felt more like, get ready. And I did. I felt like I was a From Software character doing a couple of buffs, making sure I had the right items. We also did play really smart. We handled the enemies and were ready for them and acted accordingly. But the lead up felt good. The whole thematic side of the Spider campaign of going down into the subconscious, and there you find the webs and strands connecting all things, was very well done as a metaphor.
You do kind of just keep going down in that whole campaign. That side of it. Yeah, you just keep going down and down and down. Yeah. And
then you end up in this deeper and deeper abyss, which they describe better and better as just being this empty place, and there you find... Atlak-Nacha was so good. And then fighting her is so good. Like, it is funny. It is laughable, the idea of you're fighting this giant spider and she's just fucking spinning in the center. But it's not going to feel silly. It feels so thematic and so cool.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of like the rule of cool, for it outweighs every other criticism, right? You're like, no one's thinking, why is this dumb spider here? They're thinking, this is a giant spider. It's so cool. It moves. It's huge, right? Yeah.
It's also a really well-designed scenario, too, because throughout the entire campaign, it felt like options were narrowing and narrowing and narrowing, and then you get to the end, and it's Atlak-Nacha and this circle surrounding her. And some of those points interconnect, but you really do feel like you've reached the hub. There's no going deeper than here. There's no other branching off path. There's no other way or place to go. This is it. This is where this thing is. And I think it's been one of the most powerful ancient ones in terms of vibes that we've had so far, both Nyarlathotep and Atlach-Nacha, but I think Atlach-Nacha especially. And then getting to murder her is really fun too. I think one of the reasons she's probably too easy compared to the other ancient ones is because they actually break her down into boss segments.
Well, actually, so this is something that we'll talk again when we revisit it. But I actually think the reason why that scenario is too easy is that the clues deal 3 damage instead of 2 damage. If you had to spend 3 clues for a leg as opposed to 2 clues for a leg, I think it would be a lot more. And that's actually some of the criticism that a lot of people have, is it kind of makes the cloovers like too good in comparison to the fighters for that.
I would agree with that.
I think they need to be good. They need to be able to contribute, right? It's better if everyone can play. But at the same time, it's like tuned a bit too high.
And actually, I would agree with that. I think given how many turns we had left and how much we had things on lock, having to spend a couple more turns to get the items, to have her spin out of control.
Yeah.
Like, if you can do too much damage to Atlach-Nacha, it ends the scenario too quickly.
Yeah.
But that said, their best boss battle, their coolest boss battle, they did I will say too, they did so many fun things with the unexpected in this one. Which you wouldn't think coming into this campaign. This campaign doesn't feel like it's going to have a bunch of unexpected stuff. And maybe this is one of my criticisms of Carcosa, is I expect so much from Carcosa and weird theater that then when it delivers it, I'm like, okay, but was that weird enough? Could you not have been weirder? Whereas in this one, they're like, yeah, flip over the scenario card. And it's just this image, and they're like, read something new. And it's a whole chunk more than you expected.
Yeah.
Or they're like, oh yeah, here's Atlach-Nacha, but she's not 1 card.
Yeah, she's 5 cards.
She's 5 cards in huge, glorious detail, and the center body doesn't even have stats on it yet.
Yeah.
And you're just like, oh.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord. And it was so unexpected and well delivered.
It is one of those things, because I think it's true, because like Carcosa comparison, it's really clever in the campaign guide, and you don't really get that experience, especially when it's done through an app, right?
Yeah.
There's so much cool like meta stuff with Carcosa that's less obvious unless you've played it like 5 or 10 times, right? Yeah. And with Dream Eaters, it's more like it's like a mechanical like card exploration in terms of that, and it's easier to like appreciate it and like see it and just be like, wow, because there's so much. This is actually what we just talked about. Each scenario in this campaign has a cool hook and like a good moment, and that's kind of like all you need to have a good Arkham scenario, right? Just a cool hook and like a good theme, right?
I will also say that this one has made me want to go back and replay Carcosa as the first one I do a replay on, because I actually want to have a better time with Carcosa. Seeing how well they delivered Atlach-Nacha and seeing how well they delivered Nyarlathotep, it makes me think about the final scenarios in Carcosa, the ones I struggled the most with, and I'm like, I just didn't get it.
Yeah.
And I want to play it again.
That's very fair.
I want to experience this again, because this kind of intelligent, playful setup of the space and use of cards was something that the ending scenarios of Carcosa did really well. And I just wasn't getting it.
Yeah. And I mean, also like that'd be a good one. I think if we do it again, maybe I'll actually, I have the actual paper campaign guide. Maybe we can do it in paper.
That would be
we can
fun.
actually like kind of like take the app out of the situation. But yeah, Eric, I'm glad you enjoyed it. I had a feeling you would. I knew you would like Atlach-Nacha too, because it's just so damn cool. Right? It's just so cool. Yeah. So we're doing Dark Matter next. I asked Eric, we're going to be doing Dark Matter for the next campaign. It's not going to be for a while. I've said this on the video that came out, but we're going to do some other stuff and record Arkham. Like, not only Arkham. We've only been recording Arkham for a while. We have the Heroes of Might and Magic board game I want to play. We have a card game that has been on Kickstarter recently that I want to play. There's just a bunch of stuff that we want to play in addition to Arkham. So we're going to
Justin's making excuses. I've kidnapped Russell until he lets me play a Yithian, and we're at a standoff.
You're not. I'm sorry. You can cut Russ's throat. You're going to have to answer to Julie.
I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that.
But thanks for watching, everybody. We hope you enjoyed this. I'm very excited for you to play Innsmouth. You're going to hate it on the blind play, I think. But it's such a good campaign on replays. I really like it now. And then,
That's
honestly,
too bad, because I love Innsmouth as a setting.
you might like it. Honestly, you've surprised me for stuff.
Innsmouth and Cthulhu in general. This is ironic to say for the Cthulhu's mythos, but I think Innsmouth, people are like, Innsmouth gets overdone. Innsmouth gets done every time. And I'm like, good, it should. This is the best
good.
part.
It is good. They have a great, there's some like of the best scenarios in all of Arkham in Innsmouth, in my opinion. Then we go to Edge of the Earth and Scarlet Keys, which are a bit of a dark spot. I don't think you're gonna like Scarlet Keys. If you don't like globetrotting, I don't think you're gonna like Scarlet Keys. Like, I'm sorry, I can just already pretty comfortably say that. But then we got Hemlock Vale, which is one of my favorites. I'm very excited. I think you're gonna like that one too.
Oh, I'm excited. I haven't been watching your videos just to be safe.
Yeah, there's gonna be like there's a lot of good story stuff in it. And as much as I want to just skip to Hemlock, we're gonna do it in release order. We're gonna do it. It's been 2 years, and we got through 5 campaigns.
That's wow.
Has it been 2 years?
Yeah.
Because I was at my grandma's place when we first started recording.
Yes.
And I moved here. That was in 2022, 2023.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's crazy. We've been playing Arkham a long freaking time.
We have. I'm not new anymore, I guess.
I don't think you are. I'm going to probably do it for one more video. I'm going to say a new player. I want to do a list video with you.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do one more.
I'm just bad.
Can we just imagine
can we just
bad
stop,
player? Yeah.
Can we just stop calling me a new player and start calling me a bad player? Because I would love that.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of like when the definition of a new player is no longer new. And I still think it's like 10 campaigns.
Okay. Yeah. Well, then I'm halfway new.
You're halfway new.
I'm halfway old.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for watching, everybody. Bye.